Well, since that time, of course, it's been more than a year now, and the people are still fighting. You don't hear this on the news, but there is constant protesting that is taking place at the anniversary, or even before the anniversary. Probably many of you have seen the picture of a young woman that was singled out and was shot dead. And then those who tried to help her among her colleagues were arrested, and her body was put under siege for 2 hours bleeding until she died. The next day was the anniversary, of course, of January 25th, and we all know that maybe not everybody, but a couple of dozen people at least were killed. Yesterday, there was another massacre. At least 30 bodies until now have been put in a hospital. Another massacre made by the police. This is very real. This is a struggle of a nation that has nearly 1/3 of the population of the United States that is ruled by an iron fist, by a regime that has 1.7 million individuals under payroll of the Ministry of Interior, the police. About 500,000 individuals. The United States is, as usual, supportive to whoever is in the top office. So anyone who is there, then he's got the full support of the United States. We have seen a kind of the pulse of the revolution throughout the period from when we ousted Mubarak and until, of course, ousting Morsi. We have seen very quickly events that for us took days, took lives. We were fighting in these battles using non-lethal tools such as basically stones, and if we get serious attacks with them trying to kill us, so we create a buffer zone by Molotovs. Not even Molotovs, usually they're just fuel bombs. Fuel bombs like just some petrol and a bottle. Anyway, of course, many didn't probably understand the issue about the Brotherhood. You would think they were really elected. You have seen what was going on at the time of the election. It was the massacre of Muhammad Mahmoud, 5 days. Tahrir was as full as you have seen in the movie, and we are under continuous attack. We lost 1,004 persons killed, according to the former Minister of Health in that government at that time. So, what's happening now is the revolution. People are fighting, people are trying, but the enemies of the revolution are not only those very formidable institutions in Egypt. Most importantly, two other powers. One is Saudi Arabia and the Emirates, a couple of other countries like Kuwait and so on one hand, and this might have changed with the death of the former monarch of Saudi Arabia. We're still waiting to see how the new king is going to deal with this. The other force was Israel. And Israel, of course, is using the United States. So the US is always supportive of these aspects. Saudi Arabia fears for their crown, for their monarchies, for all their dictatorships and wealth and so on. Israel doesn't want to be another country in the Middle East with democracy. It wants to be the only democracy in the Middle East. It works better this way. and other stuff that probably even is very stupid, because obviously if they are smarter, they would know that if there is democracy really everywhere around, everybody should live together happily. Some people are not really interested in this. Well, anyway, I don't think we have so much time, so I'm gonna take questions if anybody wishes to give me any. Ethan.
Well, I was a little interested and slightly confused about the Muslim Brotherhood guy in the movie, because it seemed like he was a bit of a rogue Muslim Brotherhood guy. He would go against the leadership's orders, and so that I mean, it was very complicated, but the fact that even within the different groups there are rogue elements makes it even more complicated.
The Brotherhood didn't join us from the beginning. They joined us several days after, a few days after, actually starting on January 28th, when they realized that we are the winning side. But they still claim they made the revolution. And their claim pisses me off so much, because I was, on that very day, January 25th, organizing, and I was on the phone several times with the guidance office that they're leading, top-level leadership, who had a meeting that ended late that night after 10 o'clock, and with a decision that they told me, which was, we will not take a decision with this. We are going to leave it to the individual freedom of every one of our members to see what to do, what they see as fit, to go or not to the square. It's their business. Within the structure of the Brotherhood, if you may have noticed that even the rogue element in the Brotherhood Mahdi had mentioned, they obey fully. It's blind obedience. They have this hierarchy and they have to obey the leaders because the leaders know better. So this is about the Brotherhood. The representation that we saw today of this character, I think it helps us to understand this ethical question about the Brotherhood. Are they democratic? Obviously not. Definitely not within their organization, and not the way they acted when they obtained power. Are they religious? Obviously, they use religion to get membership and to master their members' loyalty and allegiance. But obviously also, if you look at the other people, we don't think they are religious. We think they use religion like many other organizations in the world under different religions to obtain political means, to obtain political goals. So for us, as people who are educated, we don't consider the Brotherhood to be who they claim they are. They do this with the poor and with ignorant, but not with educated people. Very well. So this is regarding the issue of the Brotherhood. So what happened, and we have seen bits and pieces in the movie about it, is that there was a deal that was made between the SCAF, the Supreme Council of Armed Forces, and the Brotherhood because of us, because of all the pressure we were putting on the military, and the military had to step back. And they needed a way out that would protect them. So they made a deal with the Brotherhood so that they got immunity and they got no-touch policy. They do whatever they want. And for this, Brotherhood got what they wanted. They had control over the two houses of the parliament and even the presidency. And they were doing this while the revolutionaries were fighting, were in actual battle, were getting killed. So that is to answer this. Yes.
I'm just interested in your thinking. I mean, this Tahrir Square to me was one of the most powerful non-violent revolutions of history.
Yes.
And what went wrong? what mistakes were made and what can be learned for future. Because
Absolutely.
obviously none of us are innocent in just putting aside one group of dictators or another, etc.
Yeah. It's understandable. We have a problem, of course, and this problem exists from the very beginning. The problem that exists from the very beginning, maybe we didn't really see it fully in the movie, but actually, for 3 decades, for 30 years, Egypt is subjected to a deliberate attempt or a deliberate effort from the regime of Hosni Mubarak, and it's so much worse now, it's even like 10, 20 times more, to ruin the main values for people. So it's okay to take a bribe. It's okay to give a bribe because this is how we make business, for instance. Democracy doesn't mean that you can come out there and challenge me if I am the ruler of the country. Are you crazy? This is not democracy. You are criminals. Things like that. So you have a country which was a very leading country, deteriorating and with its level of education and culture falling down, with those who are able to think leaving the country, with us over there trying to change the situation and to take our country back. Under all this, we are having a security apparatus that is really huge, that has elements everywhere. They spy on everybody, and they use the carrot and the stick in order to co-opt everybody that they can. So many of the people who are already in the opposition are actually marionette puppets in the hand of the regime, of Hosni Mubarak, using us against each other. So they have fun, and there seems to be a movement in the country, and they are happy, and we think that we are doing some political work. Actually, I'm not really talking about myself when I say we, but I'm saying we just in general. The thing is, I was never a politician, so from the very beginning I took this as political activism for the people's rights, for what we are, of course, seeking. So we cannot organize ourselves as political structures, because if we do this, we will get exactly where the regime wants us. Any political structure would have leadership and so on, and always the leadership gets, of course, invisible. Will get
not accountable.
Well, anyway, the head of anything can be chopped off or would have a price. So what we did was try to be decentralized as possible. There is a downside to this, which is we cannot fill in the vacuum if we get into political stuff. But at the same time, if we don't do this, we are totally doomed. We are totally finished. So we survived so far because we keep our initial plan. No leaders. Our leadership is our goals. So we are all brothers in arms in non-violence. And we all kind of equal fighting for this. Yes? Like that?
There was a couple references to the state leaving the square. They said a couple times in the movie.
Yeah, of course.
How was it decided on? Were you there?
It wasn't decided. Yes, I was there. We didn't decide to leave, but the military, okay, they said that they were protecting the revolution and so on, and they told the people to leave, that people don't need to be in the square anymore. Many of the people that were already in the square during this period, they were tired and exhausted and needed to go home and to celebrate because it's over, because they believe that it's already, we got what we wanted. So they left. We were left in the square where I think we were only like a couple of thousand people. And we were attacked 3 days after the ousting of Mubarak, and our tents were burnt. I lost some personal stuff with this, and so everybody did. And we were forced out. So this is what happened. It wasn't voluntary by us revolutionaries. The thing about us revolutionaries is if we do things at the right time with the right formula, we get the millions on our side. When we don't do this, there's something wrong or something is missing, then this doesn't happen. For example, in the anniversary last month, on January 25th, huge protests did happen in various places, clashes, but okay, we had tens of thousands, we didn't get the millions. Why didn't we get the millions? Because the Brotherhood still lives in their dream world. They still say that they are fighting for the reinstatement of Morsi. The regime uses this very well, so whenever there is a protest, automatically the regime says they are supporters of the Muslim Brotherhood. And the Egyptians, okay, like, let them go to hell. But nobody wants to deal with the Brotherhood. What are the media tools that we have so that if it's really ours, we can get everybody to know that it is ours? Internet. Okay, internet is nice. Most people here, they have internet access. Lovely. But it is not like this in Egypt. And again, I am repeating something that I said in other various occasions. The Egyptian revolution was not an internet-made revolution. Most Egyptians, they have no access to it in any way. And those who have, they don't use it for political purpose. So it was organization on the ground, and this is how we did it. So does this answer the question? Yes?
I have a question about the bread riots that really, were kind of together with austerity around the world around 2008. How much did the regime of Mubarak get weakened by the bread riots, which kind of have a precedent in, was it 1977 with...
No, so 1977 January events were very different.
Well, they killed a lot more. Did Mubarak take a softer position on the...
No, that's because they were very different incidents in nature. In 1977, 18th and 19th of January, this was a real uprising. It was massive, it was everywhere. And Sadat at the time was the president, and he had to cancel all the decisions that he made to raise the prices of goods at this time. It was a whole different story. The bread riots are not like this. The bread riots were not people protesting, saying, we want bread. It was unfortunately that the people who are actually hungry, they would have to queue for long queues in front of bakeries that would sell subsidized bread. A subsidized bread, you can get one loaf of Egyptian bread for the equivalent of less than 1 cent. So of course it's rare. You cannot get it easily because the regime is not subsidizing as much as they should. So people would be queuing, and then the corrupt bakery persons would smuggle some bread to some other person, and then people get angry, and then the clashes happen. It was not against the regime, it was people just trying to eat because they're poor.
But do you think it created any social chaos that began to maybe weaken the regime?
Well, what I can say is everything that had happened during this period had an accumulated result afterwards. So things were different. We started going against Mubarak at the end of 2004 under Kifaya. That broke the taboo, because until then you cannot touch the president with criticism. But we were calling them bad names in public in protests. Not because we were foul-mouthed, but because it was necessary to shake down this holiness, that fear, that people have. So this was something that we did. During this period, we had large protests and. After that, there was, for example, the death of a young man called Khalid Saeed, whose picture came, a nice, well, decent young man that was beaten. Actually, I have seen this with my own eyes. I've seen a step, a marble step in a building that they have broken with his skull in Alexandria. So, in front of dozens of witnesses, they killed this young man, beating him to death because he managed to get a video that shows the cops distributing a drug bust between them and put it online. The reaction to this was massive to a certain extent because this was a young man of the middle class that wouldn't think such injustices would happen to them because this only happens to the poor. So this gave them a shock that, no, it can happen to anyone. You could be next. So this had helped. The return of al-Baradei also in 2010 had helped a little bit with this. The terrible elections in November 2010 had helped into this. The revolution in Tunisia had helped into this.
The Arab Spring.
Yeah, many things. And also that we came with solutions to the problems that had hindered the participation of the people into our protests. New ideas came out, as I have explained in a previous talk with Forum. Yes? Yes, sorry.
Yeah, I just wanted to sort of bring up the whole thing about his master tools. In black revolutions, you can't win the revolution using the master's tools. What I think is the global revolution in these parts, whether it's the internet, and the Facebook, and the Google, were big partners. So on the other side, they're not our friends, and they're the technical support. They're creating a lot of the stuff that looks like help. I mean, it's crazy. Like here, everybody's doing the revolution with Facebook, which is brought through by the CIA.
I hear you and I understand you, but what I'm trying to explain is we didn't have this. It wasn't the way to organize. And if we did that, if we actually organized using internet like we tried to do on various occasions since 2008, we would have failed like all the times we have failed until then. That even includes a failure that was only a week before the 20 Febs, because several Egyptians, actually 8 Egyptians, did exactly what Mohammed Bouazizi did in Tunisia. They self-immolated. They put themselves on fire. In front of the parliament, in front of the TV building, in front of the government.
Several leaders in that.
I'm sorry?
Several who?
Individuals. 8 Egyptians did this. And we tried to use this using the internet to get action. And what was the result? We were the same old couple of dozen activists surrounded by a couple of hundred police with other few thousand police in their trucks. And nobody is joining us. People in the street, they were walking with their heads down, looking at us like, oh, they're crazy. Okay, so, yes.
I heard at one point in the film that division and distraction was a major tool against the revolution. I assume the revolutionaries have a proposed constitution.
Actually, from the very beginning, we had a full list of what the transition should be like. And we had this on large signs in the square that would read every paragraph. We had everything figured out, and I even came to the United States immediately after we ousted Mubarak, actually to talk with the US administration about this particular thing. I had very high-level talks White House, at the National Security Council, State Department, even in the Marshall Room, one of the meetings, and at the Congress. They listened very well, but they didn't take any of my suggestions. I had a very good time to present it. Anyway, you can see this in my book, which should come out hopefully in about 2-3 months. I'm finishing it now. There was something else that there
What's
was.
it called? What would it be called?
The book, for now, I'm calling it the start, but it's not final yet. I still need to get someone who can do covers. We will see about the title on this.
You said the start.
Yeah, for now. Yeah, it's not final yet. And what else did I want to say? Sorry, something has slipped my mind.
I wondered if the Constitution was a unifying factor.
Okay, there was a division regarding the issue of the Constitution. The Islamists wanted election first, because election with nobody else in the scene means that they can win, even if there is no review. And then they can forge a constitution as they want. And they actually did this. The military helped them completely in this, despite all our attempts. So first there were elections, and then Morsi, as a dictator, he made a constitution overnight. It was very crazy. He told the group that he chose to make a constitution, okay, you have until tomorrow morning. And they stayed up all night until the next morning, and they came up with a constitution. Who are the people that are suffering most from now are the Muslim Brotherhood. It's their action, and it's going back to them. Because this horrible constitution, which Egypt is suffering under now, had resulted that they have fallen in the fate that they hoped for others to fall into, like us. They have been massacred, which we are against. No one, of course, as we all agree, because they have different opinion that we disagree with, should be murdered. But this is what happened in Egypt. So thousands of their members were murdered. They were murdered by bullets, they were burned, they had horrible ways of dying. And the regime is not stopping at the Brotherhood. Of course, they are killing us revolutionaries. Yes?
I just want to thank you and the filmmakers. Renewed the inspiration that I felt, and actually millions of people all over the world felt. So that happened here in America.
Thank you very much, and I wanted to say something when it comes to this. There was another event that I was honored to do here with Occupy Forum, and it's online on YouTube. If you look for my name, Ahmed Salah, and Occupy Forum, you can find it on YouTube. And in this one, I am explaining how we actually made the revolution, the real story behind the revolution. So you can have that. Yes?
So, Ahmed, what do you think needs to happen now, and what are your colleagues in Egypt hoping and working to try to make?
Well, the timing for the attempt that was made on January 25th was wrong. And I have tried to suggest this, but people were very emotionally fueled after the murder of the young woman and so on the day before. So if revolution, my own tactics, my strategy is that I'm trying to pass on to others in Egypt, is if revolutionaries would wait, the situation will be right very soon, because this regime is making terrible mistakes, one mistake after the other. For instance, there are all these conversations that come out, recorded conversations somehow of Morsi, of Sisi and his guys, and they are scandalous. This is one thing. The other thing is they try to sell to the people things that don't exist. So over 6 months ago, maybe 8 months ago, they came up with this device that is supposed to treat all viral diseases, taking them out from your blood. So if you have HIV, if you have hepatitis, if you have whatever, this takes it away. Of course, it's nonsense. Of course, you can look at each other. It's nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. And we have said this over and over again. But they use their propaganda machine to make the people live with this illusion that there is this incredible invention and it's going to be in our hands in 6 months. Of course, the 6 months passed, nothing, and so on. And now, finally, the syndicate of doctors is trying to take action against this kind of allegations. But meanwhile, does this put Sisi down? No, he played another trick. So he is selling to the people that he is digging a parallel Suez Canal to the Suez Canal that is even wider and deeper. Why? Because you cannot enlarge the actual Suez Canal itself more than what it has for certain reasons, like there are bridges and tunnels and so on that are already made with this design. Okay. Experts, of course, looking at this, looking at the amount of soil that has to be transferred, looking at millions of things. It's impossible to do it within the budget and the time frame that he says. That he says he's finishing it in 1 year. So very soon, this is going to be a scandal. Why? Because he played on the emotions and the greed of the people, selling them bonds in the new system. Many people have put the savings of their lives in this incredible project. Imagine another larger, deeper Suez Canal. And like, wow. So of course,
High interest too.
yeah. So they're gonna be big time disappointed.
It's promising, yeah, high interest.
It's gonna come very soon, within the year. So it's not like we're gonna have to wait for several years. If just people could try to maintain their safety. That's because we are having an attrition. We are bleeding out revolutions with the amount of arrests, with the amount of ridiculous sentences. Like, really very interesting. Some people have been put on trial and are serving prison sentences for protesting against Morsi, the Brotherhood, which actually our protest brought the military to power because they used this as an excuse and afterwards they jumped into power. But I have colleagues in prison for protesting against Morsi, against the Brotherhood. Did they go to prison during the time of the Brotherhood? No, now, recently. I have friends that have been sentenced to life in prison. I have friends who have sentenced with different other terms. And of course, I know people who don't care. So it's very, very rough. But what I want to say is, despite of how rough, how crazy, how the odds seem to be so impossible, people are challenging all this and are really putting their lives on the line and are really trying to bring democracy into our lives. Is there any other question? Yes.
Yeah, it's funny. Say, there's a scene in the film after Mubarak was, where everybody's very cheerful and joyous, which reminded me of when Obama got elected. In Chicago, there were scenes of people crying, and like there was the African American president. And I was struck by the fact that both ended up in similar results. I'm wondering if there's any interest in Egypt to the Syriza victory, to the Syriza victory in Greece.
Oh, in Greece, yes, but not popularly. It's among those who are politically active. And most people, even many of those who were politically active, because of how the country had become now, with an economy that hardly exists anymore, and with all the problems and dangers and so on, they are just trying to survive. And with difficulty, I mean, I have many friends who don't have money for anything, and there are no jobs. There is nothing. It's like you starve, you die. It doesn't matter. Things are very rough, so there are difficulties with some, but I believe that when the right time comes, victory has to be announced. This is the course of history. It goes this way. You keep fighting for freedom. You may have difficulties, you may have lots of sacrifices, but as long as there is those who are determined and keep trying, and we have a lot of those, then finally we should get it. Okay.
How are people living in the meantime? Like, how are families and
Very, very.
everybody who's like just as a human being, how are people living? What
This
are
is
they
the
doing?
problem. This is the
What are
problem.
they doing with time? How do
People, I don't know how they can survive. I mean, I know many people who don't have any kind of income. I guess they're just trying to keep being.
like, where does the food come into this? You know, where
There isn't. There isn't. I guess
But you're
people will
alive, so
try.
that's-
Yeah, I mean, and you will try to go around, maybe have a meal at the house of the family, and spend the other day at home or in the street. I don't know. It's difficult. People are having very seriously bad time, and every day is a hell of a day. Every day is a terrible time. It has to be. That's why they are also in a hurry. That's why they have tried prematurely to relaunch, and it didn't work out on last months. Yes.
The revolutionaries, as you call them, the original revolutionaries, what are some of the kinds of things they're doing now to try to help continue to lay the groundwork for a real revolution?
There is no.
I mean, given the very
Yeah.
challenging political climate.
There are no organized works of any kind. There are individual attempts, and that's why when some people started having a reaction after the murder of the young woman, thousands joined in and they tried because they believe in the necessity to change the situation and to get over this regime. But of course, it was not the right timing and everything, so it didn't work. It's hard. We are not talking here about a situation that is easy in any way. This is a very, very difficult situation. Probably many people here in the United States have never seen in their lives the kind of difficulty and trouble that you have to deal with in order to survive these situations that now millions in Egypt are facing. And not only in Egypt, we are having an all-out, of course, disaster with the rise of ISIL and all these crazy things. And if I say the next sentence, you would think I'm really thinking a little too much of myself, but I did have a very, very comprehensive, good plan that I have presented to the authorities, and if they would have been not just listening and discussing, but actually they took steps in the right direction, we wouldn't even have seen ISIL in the first place. Because this would have solved the problem of democracy in the region.
Can you explain?
Oh, is
what
that,
you see
what was your
different?
proposal?
I had,
What some people
it's a
call
bit of a
ISIL.
complex plan. It has 3 phases. One part that was in relationship with dealing with the military, and 2 other parts dealing with the funding of how to fund a transition in Egypt in the right direction, how to deal with it, based on our, of course, program for a transition and for democracy as a revolution. This, you will find it in the book, because I'm worried that it's 9 o'clock now and I just don't want to read. Yeah, so I guess we are almost finished, so we're done. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, wonderful.
Thank you.
From what now?
Oh,
Which
yeah.
is- Sorry, we're
You have
on
the
what now?